Our next clip is going to be mother and son of Egyptian heritage, but first we'd like to welcome Kaiser as he works with the American Sephardic Federation Institute of Jewish Experience, as well as with the Union de Juife Egypte, based in Israel. So can we see Kaiser for a moment? Hi, Kaiser, thank you so much for joining. Can you just tell us in a word why you felt it was important to be part of this? Or in a sentence, not a word.
Well, you see, I was, when I grew up, I heard a lot of stories about the old country, and I was enwrapped, in all this information and truly incredible experiences, for both good and bad. I knew I had to take part in it. It's just incredible, and more people should definitely get the knowledge that are these experiences through those stories.
Thank you, and you definitely, and your whole family helps promote it through the museum as well as through many other things. So I'm going to say that Tuli is the heritage administrator for Union de Juife Egypte, based in Israel, and here she is. Welcome, Tuli. Thank you so much for joining as well. You can see them live. We'll also see them in a minute in a recorded clip, but we're so glad that you joined us today as well. Kaiser has been helping make many of the ASF-IJE projects come to life, including a clip on a synagogue in Cairo, which actually we had heard before from Dani Hakim, that it had its reopening, and Kaiser and Tuli were there as part of it. So they have an interesting perspective on that. And also, Kaiser has been part of our online courses. So thank you both for joining us, and thank you both for the clip. Let's cut to the clip then.
Thank you. It's really an honor. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Kaiser Zamir. I'm a video editor and a game developer. And with me today is Tuli. I'm very excited to hear your story today, and I thank you very much for participating in this very important event.
Of course.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Tuli, his mother, and also the heritage administrator of the Jews from Egypt Association in Israel. And I'm from Tel Aviv, and I'm happy to do this for you.
Well, we're very excited to have you here today for this very important event, and we would very much like to hear your stories. Let's start by going back a bit.
Okay.
Why don't you tell the people at home, where were you born? Where's your family? Where is our family from?
Yes, I was born in north of Tel Aviv, born and raised. I still live here in north of Tel Aviv. And my family is from Egypt, both my mother and my father. My mom is from Helwan, and my father's from Cairo. I was very excited to go there, and after hearing a lot of stories from my grandmother.
So you did
child.
hear a lot of stories from the old country.
Yes, right? Definitely yes. Especially from when I was a child, from my grandmothers, both from my mother's side and my father's side. We used to sit on the canapé at my grandmother's house in Tel Aviv, and she loved to tell me the stories about the life, the luxury life in Egypt, in their beautiful villa, and the summers where they went to another place,
Ras El Bar?
to Ras El Bar, yes. And they spent all summer there with all the maids and everything. The men used to go back to Cairo and work the whole week, but on the weekends the men joined their families, their wife and children, and it was really a luxury life, very quiet life, very good life.
Is there any story that comes to mind when you think about it? First one that comes to your mind.
Yes, of course.
Sure.
There's a really funny story I heard from my grandmother from my father's side. She had a lot of children, and especially one was very, very naughty. His name was Musa. He was the smallest from the whole gang. And one time when they took a train to Ras El Bar in the summer, she, by mistake, she thought the window of the train was open, and by mistake she threw out, because that's the way it used to be, something, I think it was a pit of a fruit or something, but obviously the window was closed and the window broke, the glass broke. So the conductor, when she was coming out of the train with all the children, he said, Set, you have to give me money for the window you broke. And she said, no, I will not. So he said, I will take your child. So she knew that Musa is very, very naughty and he will give him a lot of trouble, and that obviously he will run away. So she said, take it, take him, no problem. And she started walking, and he was shocked. He couldn't believe it, and he called after her, Set, come and take your child. El Walad. And that's a really, really funny story, and a true one. She was smart.
Do you recall any specific traditions, customs, maybe what languages were spoken around the house?
Yes, of course. Everybody that knows Jews from Egypt, they know that they start the sentence in one language and they finish it in completely different one. I mean, in one sentence they can speak 4 languages, and that's, the one thing that comes to mind. Even today, if my mother, she says a word, she wants to say something, she can say it she starts in Hebrew, then she goes to it's French and Arabic and everything. It's so funny. And of course the food, the Egyptian tradition. The food is amazing. The melochia, the tameya, the menena.
Whoever knows. Whoever doesn't should.
It's the best food that ever existed, and you should know, because you continue cooking with my mother.
True, very true. It is delicious and surprisingly simple to make. When you grew up, were most Jews in your community similar? What was the major Jewish narrative?
Actually, when I was growing up here in north of Tel Aviv, most of my friends were Ashkenazi. Almost none of them were Egyptian, but from Egyptian heritage. But I didn't really feel different. Actually, my house was the most warm and most always welcome, because that's the Egyptian way, to always welcome guests and to and let them feel at home. So I didn't feel any different. They didn't feel I am different. And they loved coming and eating all our Egyptian foods. Even when I lived in the United States for
that's good that you mentioned that, because I was about to ask.
Yes.
You studied in New York,
right?
And you've stayed there for a long time, a few years even, right? So why don't you tell me about that? Were you connected to any Jewish communities?
Actually, no. I was, most of my friends in New York, because I lived in Manhattan, most of my friends were Christians. The Jewish community in most of them, let's say the Sephardic ones, they live in Brooklyn, most of them. And of course, during the holidays, I have family there, they invited me there. But then they actually stayed more like the old country. The Egyptian community, the Jewish Egyptian community, they are together with them. And but in Manhattan, most of my friends were, like I said, Christian, but it didn't matter. because they celebrated with me our holidays and my tradition.
Really?
It was great. And I celebrated with them. It was Christmas or Thanksgiving or Halloween, and it was fun because we celebrated everything, and we love to celebrate. You know, we're happy people. The Jewish, the Jewish from Egypt, they're happy people. And
what was like the one thing you showed them from our traditions that they seem to really like?
The most,
really fun,
the most amazing thing that they actually really liked the food. Especially when my mother came to visit me in New York, they loved that she cooked for us melochia and menena and basbousa and stuffed chicken, all the good stuff. And tameya.
I gotta say, I'm not surprised, but also I'm very impressed.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's cool. Do you feel connected to the Jewish narrative? We are, of course, Sephardic Jews. Do you feel connected to Judaism?
To Judaism, of course. I come from a religious family. My father used to pray every morning and put tefillin every day, and go to the synagogue every Friday and Saturday. But I actually went more on the high holidays, you know, Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, and that's where I felt the most my Sephardic heritage, the Jewish way, because even today they still sing when they pray the prayers on the same melodies that they sang back in Egypt, and it's very exciting to me when I hear that. Even today, when I go to the synagogue with my mother and my children, when I sit there, I always imagine like we're in Egypt, and because it's the same melodies. Yes, and that's the connection, really.
Speaking of which, we actually went to Egypt.
Right.
So how about you tell me a little bit about that? We went to old synagogues that are still in Egypt today.
Right.
Is there any specific happening that comes to mind that you want to share?
Yes, actually, it was very exciting for us to go, especially with you, to see you, to show you the roots by your grandmother. It was very exciting, but especially we went to a synagogue that no one goes there. They only allow us to go there because of the connections. Sami Ibrahim and Magda Arun, they help us to go to the other synagogues where a Jewish foot didn't step there for maybe 50 or 60 years. And when we got there, welcomed us the guardian of the synagogue, which was Muslim. And he was very excited to see us and to show us the synagogue. And when we went in, we told him it was that day was the day of the night of Rosh Hashanah. And we told him, do you know today is the night of Rosh Hashanah? And he said, yes, of course I know, and I also know all the prayers by heart in Hebrew with the same melodies they used to sing, the Egyptian Jews there. And we didn't believe him. We said no. He said, yes, me as a little boy, all my life that's what I heard, because his father before him was the guardian of the synagogue. So we told him, go ahead, show us, let us hear you. And he went up on the teva, on the hechal, and he started to sing and to pray and to say the Rosh Hashanah prayers in the exact way the Jewish people did that in Egypt. And it was so exciting, we almost cried. It
was very emotional.
Yes.
It was a very emotional trip altogether.
Yes.
We even got to see the old house in Helwan.
Yes.
Which was, I only saw a picture and then we replicated the picture and I was like, oh my God.
Yes.
It was great.
Another thing that is very, very emotional for me was the night of the Rosh Hashanah. There was a big ceremony at one of the big synagogues in Cairo, and they gave you the honor to blow on the shofar.
Yeah, I remember that.
Wow, it was amazing for me. It was so emotional and exciting. I was so excited to see you blowing the shofar on the evening of Rosh Hashanah, at the same synagogue where my grandparents used to pray. It was amazing.
There's actually a bit of a funny story about that. I'm not sure if you remember, but I don't really know how to blow the shofar properly. It's not like I practice
it. Yes, but you did it very good.
But then, here's the thing. I Googled it.
I remember.
I did. And it went well.
It went great. Well. It was great.
Thanks, Google. So, we're coming to a close, but we're going to have 2 more questions. That all being said, we went through your past and you talked all about that. Now, I wanted to ask you, if you could talk to your younger self, what's the one thing you'd say?
The one thing I would say is...
To your younger self?
Yes, to my younger me. Spend more time with the elderlies, with my grandparents. I wish I could go back and do that. And to hear more about my heritage, more stories about the old countries. Because once they're gone, it's all gone with them.
Yeah.
If it's not told to your generation, to your sons, to your grandchildren, it's not written anywhere. It's gone forever, and it's a shame. So I wish I spent more time listening. I did spend time listening, but not enough. Not enough.
At what age do you think you should have heard that the most? Just out of curiosity.
Actually, when I was little, I would spend more time, obviously, with my grandparents because I was little and I was left there by my parents. And after I grew up and I was a teenager, it was less and less. But I did try to spend more time with them because they were great, and they loved when we all came, all the children, and to tell us the stories. But I wish I had more. I wish.
Fair. I heard a lot about your grandmother as well, and I would have really loved to meet her.
Yes, he would have loved to meet you. He would have loved you and Kochav.
Okay, so that being said, is there something you want to tell the next generation about heritage?
Yes, actually I want to tell them that they should be proud of who they are, where they came from, and to try and learn more and more and teach others about our heritage, because if you don't know where you come from, you will never know where you're going. So it's the most important thing.
I see. So actually passing the information on.
Yes, learning more and passing the information. Yes, and be proud, because you have a lot to be proud of.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And thank you to the people at home.
Yes.
And 30th of November. It's the day with the thing. It's very important.
Yes, it's the actual day that we were supposed to tell and study and teach about the expel of our people from all the Arab countries, and it's very important to remember that day and to act on it.
No doubt.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much, and bye.